Thank you so much. Is there anybody here who would like to be a leader? Can I see your hand? Everybody wants to be a leader. Everybody wants to be somebody. But the truth of the matter is that it's not everyone that wants to be a leader that ends up becoming a leader. The secret is what I want to share with you today. Meanwhile, look at your neighbor and say, do you know who I am? If you know who I am today, you're about to launch on Monday. Take your seats. The world is in great demand for quality leadership capital. There's a search party that has been released to look out for leaders that will make a difference in the world today. Institutions of the world are groaning for leadership capital. The world is in search of people that can make a difference. The world is in yearning for people who can contribute to institutional growth. The world is in search for individuals that can make a huge impact in life. Imagine the search party that has been set out all over the world is currently in Nigeria. They landed in Abuja. They have been looking out for people that are going to make a difference for our great country. When a commodity is scarce, what happens to the pricing? What happens to the demand? The demand, if you're a student of economics, you realize that when the demand of a commodity of a service is high, what happens is that the price will go up, which means it's possible as an individual to hunger or search for a system that enables you become such an outstanding leader that will attract people to you because they have placed value on you as an individual. Show me someone that has great value in this country, and I will show you somebody that will make a difference in the world. Right from independence, you and I realized the Nigerian condition. Before independence, it was a search for give us freedom. Every person who fought for independence in this country was fighting simply because of the fact that they wanted a Nigeria that will work originally. And then freedom was given. And the responsibility to manage freedom was not in place. And so, immediately after independence, all of the leaders that led this country began a search for tribal leadership. When our country, the greatest need of our country at the point of independence was a leadership that is national in scope. It was a leadership that will focus simply straight on building a new country that is independent, building the values of a new country, building the vision of a new country, building a country where a clear sign of certain ideologies would have been in place. That was the point where we missed it as a nation. We missed it entirely because the search for tribal leadership and personal aggrandizement was high. And so instead of us having national leaders that sought the best interest of the nation called Nigeria, what we had were a set of leaders who sought for the interest of where they were coming from. And so they reduced the Nigerian state into a divided entity. You want to know who a leader is? A leader is someone that has the ability, the capacity to actually pull people together to accomplish great results. Anybody who is in the business of dividing already shows that he lacks or she lacks leadership. And so they put us at that state. Many years after, you know what has happened to Nigeria? What has happened to Nigeria is that we have reproduced a set of leaders that are unprepared. Has there been any leader in this country that has been prepared before? That was surely prepared in the country? Any? Because if you cannot give what you don't have, you can't give what you don't have. So what we saw is Nigeria became a place where anybody, once you're from a particular area, you can be anything in this country, right? So it destroyed our country in a way that is unimaginable. Meanwhile, in the other part of Africa, each and every one of them fell in the same trap. The same trap across Africa. There was a search of visionary leadership across Africa, but we couldn't find any. What happened was still the same thing, where each person that got independence for his or the country they belonged to, what did they do? They started to build personal kingdoms and personal, empires. And so across Africa, we began to experience lack of peer review mechanism, which means something is wrong in country A, something is wrong in country B, something is wrong in country C. And when you have the highest number of countries on the wrong path, what happens? There was no model anywhere. Nigeria was designed to be a model for the African states, which means if Nigeria gets it right, other parts of the world will do what? Will get it right. I have traveled all over the world and I have seen Nigerians outside of Africa doing great things. Why? Because in their own country, we've been searching for leaders for all these years. We have not found leaders. So the simple problem facing our country is deficit of leadership capital. And that was why someone like Chinua Achebe, in his book, Things Fall Apart, what did he say? The center can no longer hold. When the center can no longer hold, what happens? Things fall apart. Any organization, any system, and any life where there is no leadership, things fall apart. So that became the Nigerian condition. And as a child growing up, I grew up in this system. And I began to see the deficit of leadership capital that has hit our country. And then I had a chance of being senior prefect, government secondary school Owerri. I could remember that particular day. I will never forget it. I had just concluded my stewardship as SP because I took the responsibility of senior prefect seriously. And after delivering my mandate, I came out of secondary school and headed straight to Wolfby. What of Faith Bible Institute that? Of the Winners Chapel, remember? And while the session was going on, I came across a gentleman called Nehemiah. Nehemiah, and I read about the book of Nehemiah. I saw a great man who was building his country. His passion was rebuilding his country. The walls of his country were broken down. His country was in shame. Do you know, anytime I travel the world and somebody says something nasty about Nigeria, do you know what it makes me feel? Because I am Nigeria. Nigeria is me. Because Nigeria is a living organism. Nigeria is a she in international relations. Nigeria is an entity. and individuals make up this entity. So when they curse Nigeria and say Nigeria is a bad country, what happens to me is some sort of shame. Do you know that? I'm sure it happens to you. It happens to all of us. We go to the airports in this country and you present your international passports all over the world, and somebody looks at the green passports. Sometimes, what do? They ask you to do what? To step aside. But I am glad that I have understood the psychology of international relations. So anywhere I travel in the world, I make sure I am at my best in terms of my dressing. So when they see me, I'm from Nigeria, and I'm proud of being a Nigerian, and they show me respect as an individual. But I wish that Nigeria gets it as an entity. So that man who was ashamed of what was happening in his country provoked me. The man created a leadership model that I could never ever forget. He began the process of rebuilding his country. He mobilized people and shared the vision of building his country with them. He said, this is what I want our country to look like. He shared the vision and mobilized them and trained them. He taught them how to mobilize resources. He taught them how to work with one another. He taught them how to have integrity in the process of rebuilding the country. And at the end of the day, you know that when he finished rebuilding the country, the walls came up, and guess what? The people began to respect him for that. And I said, as in time, and I said to myself, what Nehemiah did for his country, I was going to do it for Nigeria. And I can remember that day, I took a document, a cardboard sheet, plain white cardboard sheet, and I carried it like this to my friend. My friend actually is in somewhere at the works layout in Owerri. Then he was a very good artist. He could design and draw with his hands. And so I asked him, Kelechi Onyike, could you please design my thoughts about Nigeria, where I'm going to in the future with this vision? Guardians of the Nation International GOTNI wants to raise leaders for Nigeria. Represent it in the best way you can as an artist. So he took the document, cardboard sheet, and began to represent my thought, my vision for Nigeria as regards raising leaders in this country. And after doing that, I carried that cardboard sheet. Everywhere I went to, in buses, I shared it. I went into the university with the cardboard sheet. 5 a.m. in the morning, I brought out people in the basketball court, and I was teaching the young people, we can take over our country and rebuild it. These are the leadership principles we must have. And do you know what? That my friend, Kelechi Onyike, has grown up to become an architect. Today, he is the one that has designed the African Leadership Center that is set up by GOTNI on our 10-hectare land space beside the Uguta Lake, the first in Africa. That tells you that dreams come true. That tells you that it is important for you to move in your group, in your associate, in your networks. As a boy, Kelechi Onyike helped me to accomplish an idea. We are now growing as adults. He is the one, when the opportunity came, who did I reach out to? The one who saw the vision. Exactly 23 years ago. It was the same guy who designed it, which means the person you decide to move forward in your life right now matters. It matters. And so I started that process, and it will interest you to know that the journey for leadership development that we started many years ago, trust me, there's going to be a time in this country that if you have not gone through our leadership series in this country and you want to seek for any public position, somebody's going to ask you, have you gone to a GOTNI conference before? You say no. Have you attended the GOTNI leadership school? You say no. Do you have any certification on leadership development? You say no. Sorry, shift. Can anybody see that? Can anybody see that? I see that coming because I tried that model in the university, my friends. I gathered young people in the university from my year one and began to teach them these principles. Do you know that after 2 years of teaching them this, you know what happened? When it was time for election in the university, we formed a political party called Sincerity 99. The condition of joining Sincerity 99 as a political party will be, number one, you will not steal public money. Because students at that time were already stealing public money. You could imagine the person that starts stealing public money very early. You can imagine what the person will do when he becomes a senator. I see some of them who have stolen public money before. Some of them have become public officers. I have also seen them. They were with us as student union leaders. Today, most of them, they are still stealing public money. I see them. So we created that model and we said you cannot steal public money. Number two, you will serve the people with all your heart. We created our ideals. And you know, people began to make commitment. They were joining the party. Sincerity 1919. And those who wanted to run for parliament, they came out. Those who run for different positions. Can I shock you that when the result came out, most of the guys in our team won their elections. And I became student union government president, the first ever in the history of that school. And guess what? By the time we had finished, every principle that we taught in GOTNI, we utilized it. And today, we remain a reference point in terms of how to transform systems. You cannot give what you don't have. Therefore, I came this morning literally to say, everybody seated in this hall today, everyone seated in this hall has a chance with history. Everyone seated in this hall today, you have a chance with history. You know why you have a chance with history? The reason you have a chance with history is that the pull and search for leadership development in our world, for great leaders, the pull is drawing on you. And that's why you are in this hall. It's pulling on you because generations yet unborn in this country, they are asking, what would you do with the chance that you have as a young person? Because if you have not made a decision at this age, trust me, Nigeria is moving at such a speed that by the time you penetrate into the system proper, you realize that the challenges of the system has a way of overwhelming anyone, true of us. And so, if that is the case, is it possible that as a young person seated here today, that you can develop a vision for yourself that makes you indispensable in the future of this country? Can you design for yourself the new Nigeria that we envision, a critical Nigeria that all things will work, a Nigeria that is driven by enterprise, a Nigeria that is driven by a sense of service, a Nigeria that is driven by a sense of making life better for people? Every time 1,000 people die in this country as a result of failure of health systems, it is a question to leadership. Right? Anytime something happens and somebody dies, check it out. You will see the leadership deficit dimension of the causes of that incident. So if we realize that, there's a sense of urgency for every individual listening to me today to reinvent yourself as a sense of commitment to setting a goal to say, in the next 10, 15 years in this country, I want to play a role in the judiciary of this country, but I will first of all become a leader before I'm a judicial officer. Does that make sense? In this country, I'm going to be a medical doctor sometime very soon. But I will first of all become a visionary medical doctor before I can become a medical doctor. Because there are medical doctors today that when you get into their hospitals, you will be ashamed. True or false? Not intimidation or manipulation. That leadership is what? So it means that a leader is someone that has the capacity to do what? To inspire a group of people towards what? A particular direction. By inspiration, not intimidation or manipulation. If that is the role of a leader, it means that the leader must be someone that is likable. True or false? And any leader in our world today that is likable must have done some things in the past. And you cannot do great things unless you become. You cannot do great things unless you have done what? You have become. No one can give what he does not have. If I want to do great things, then I'll become an outstanding leader first before I start doing things leaders do. People who are not leaders, they react to things. Is that not true? You wake up in the morning. That's why I normally will say that if a man doesn't have a purpose for waking up, sleeping becomes interesting. What will cause a man to wake up from sleep first thing in the morning, and instead of setting his agenda for the day, the man gets out of his house, no plan, no agenda. A friend of his calls him, "Hey, what's up? What's going on?" The man is asking, "What's up? What's up, bro? What's up?" He doesn't know what's up. So he's asking all over the place. And annoying thing is that in this generation, you see people in their early 40s and they sag their trousers and they walk like this. Here, man. Here, man. In this same country of ours. Yo, man. And they are asking, the guy is asking his friend, "What's up? What's up, man?" I see it everywhere. The guy doesn't know what's up at 42. And guess what? Not only that, he gets into his car, supposedly his father's car, and he goes, have you heard that sound before? And this time there are some very crazy sounds. And it's high, volume high. All the screens wind down, and the street is vibrating. And he's doing that at 43, staying in his father's house. And then he passes on the street, another purposeless young lady standing by the road, also dancing to the tune, chaka 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 chaka, right, and shaking her head. And then the guy comes over and says, "Hey," say, "What's up, girl?" And the lady now say, "What's up?" And the next thing he says, hop in. And then she goes in, she hops in. Right? You're asking, what is wrong? And it is dangerous when two people without vision are in a company, because they might be lost and they don't know they are lost. That's the danger. Therefore, I'm telling you the reality, because if there's a sense of urgency for you to rise and become a leader that you're supposed to be, there are certain things that you will not do. Those of you who met me in the university, is anybody here in this hall that met me in the university? You met me in the university, you are in this hall. Anybody that met me in the university? Now, Udo, okay, but you met me in high school, right? We're classmates, right? Great. Now, do you know, as a first-year university student, everybody who saw me knew this guy was going somewhere. You know what I did? I had a portmanteau. You know what they call portmanteau? It's called today a briefcase. But my briefcase, up to today, I don't understand how that briefcase entered my hand. But I had a briefcase, and then I used to go to a place in Siemens deliberately to go and get what you call first grade. You know, first grade. Okrika. First grade. So I will come in from Owerri. Remember, we're talking about a leader here. I will come in and I will go to that place and I have my customers. They will select for me nice. Will I say coat or suit? But so, and I'll take this stuff, and I'll go back to Owerri with these things, dressed up in them. After I must have dry cleaned them with nice shirts, looking good. Every time you see me from Monday to Friday, even Saturday, I wear a suit or coat, whatever you can imagine. It's recently that I saw some of the pictures. It was oversized, some of them. But at that point in time, because of the seriousness around my dedication to building a vision for the future, every time you see me, sometimes they thought I was a lecturer. I walk into a classroom and I start talking. Before they know what's happening, they know I'm not a lecturer. Because sometimes court members will be passing like this. Court members, they'll be passing like this and they will see me. Court members will come. They will see me. They will want to dodge. You know why they dodge? Because once you give me audience, you are not living in the next 3 hours. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it was like everything was already planned. So what I'm saying is that what we're experiencing today is just an upgrade of what has happened in the past severally. That's what it is. So it doesn't matter which industry you want to play in. It is today you make your choice. And when you make your choice, then you begin to choose your association. That's the power of the invention. Every choice leads to a change of association. So, I made my choice. Could you remember? Let me shock you. I began to seek out for powerful individuals across the country. I began to reach out to Mr. Gamaliel also there, chairman of many companies and groups. And it will interest you to know, it was the hunger to improve that I came to Lagos. I remember, how many of us remember the man they call Obongesieng? Mr. Motivator. You remember him? Look at the man seated here, Obongesieng. This is Obongesieng. Obongesieng, at that time when I left Owerri to search for this man, he was already a man motivating Nigerians at that time. I remember the hunger for knowledge, the hunger to stretch out, to look for those doing great things, pushed me. Any leader that wants to make a difference, there must be a hunger to improve, a hunger for continuous stretching and improvement. I remember I came to Lagos and you were going to speak somewhere in one, can't remember the name of the place, but inside around Festac area, but very far. I followed him. We talked in our car to the place we went there. Look at Obongesieng today. He's come to honor me. Look at him. I began to reach out to people locally and internationally. Do you know that the world is a global village? The world is in my palms as I'm talking to you right now. That's why you take a selfie right now. Somebody likes it in New York. You take a selfie and post it. Somebody likes it in New York. It means that the competition is no longer local. The competition is what? International. Those of you who don't know how to speak English, take note that you must do extra things to improve your own capacity to sell yourself to the world, not to Nigeria. And that's how I began to stretch to grow. I'm sharing with you personal experiences. And in my room, I had a place called the thinking spot. What do I do with the thinking spot? Every morning I wake up, after my prayers, I come to my thinking spot and I'm thinking about Nigeria. I'm thinking about how to transform Nigeria, and I'll write things down. I wrote things down, files upon files, up to today. I have more than 100 files like that I still have them today. Sometime in the future, there will be public documents. Does that make sense? I wrote ideas about how to the Emerging Leaders Conference is part of those ideas. Over 15 brands on this country. There were days where I wake up from sleep. Listen to me, my friends. I wake up from sleep. 1 naira will not be in my pocket. What did I say? Will 1 naira not be in your pocket stop you from achieving your dream? We are in a generation where a lot of people tell you, do this one, and tell you what, I don't have money. 1 naira not in my pocket. Trust me, I know how to position my mouth and look for my next victim. In that sense, and do what? There must be something that I will do. I will organize something that at the end of it, at least something will come out. I have never done a program and had all the money complete, because that's the way vision is. Self-reinvention. And then one day, I reached out to a man called Professor John Adair. John Adair is the first professor of leadership in the world. John Adair is, as of this year, is 83 years old. He has written 70 books and chairs United Nations leadership systems. One day, my hunger to stretch, I began to do all-night internet. How many of you did all-night internet browsing, all-night browsing in public places? It was cheaper. And I researched for him for 2 weeks and finally got him. When I got him, I said, "Sir, my name is Linus Okorie, President, Guardians of the Nation International. Sir, I would like to host you in Nigeria. I would like you to give me a date that is convenient to you, sir." He looked at me. First of all, he laughed. The man laughed. He said, "You say you are what?" I mentioned my name. He said, "Well, for my information, individuals don't host him. Individuals don't host him. It must be a government or a known institution." You know what I'm talking about? Like a name. By the way, my program is filled up from now to the next 5 years. Does that make sense? An individual. I mean, year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4. Now, let me ask you, is there anybody in this hall that has a schedule that is filled for 1 month? Listen. The advance booking as a result of value. So I said, "Sir, I am begging from the whole of my heart. Nigeria needs you now, sir." I did all the speech. The man said, "I'm sorry, I can't help you." How many of us would have gone home to sleep or cry at least? I continued putting pressure. And a few years after, like 2 years thereabout, the man said there's an opening in his schedule. He was supposed to be in Zambia. So he had a few days, 3 days free. So I said, even if it's 1 day, I'm honored. It was then I suddenly realized that, number one, institutions host him, not individuals. So he said, unless I can assure him that there's a letter from the government of Nigeria hosting him. What did I do? I went to the minister responsible for young people at that time in Nigeria, and I did my pitch, and I said, "Sir, that I want to host this important man in this country." The man knows him immediately, and he called me 419 that I have no capacity to meet with that man. You see, sometimes the energies you face, sometimes, how many of you face those kind of challenges with your ideas? You would have left, and you would have just left, after being discouraged. I said, no. What did I do? I went straight forward, my friends. I went to meet my team. You must go back to your company, your strategic team. And we had a meeting, and we said, let's do this. So we decided to do an advert on national television. Beautiful advert about the conference, and put the minister's name as chief host. It wasn't glory I came for. I came to impact young Nigerians. And this man has come. So after this conference, I'm with him all day. And that's how I took the man out of that place, and we spent time. Today, I represent him in West Africa. As I conclude this first session, I conclude my session later in the day, but as I conclude this first session, my thought to you is that there is nothing that can stop you from becoming the next generation of leader in this country. Nothing. Not even the background you come from. What we need is a dedicated set of young people that want to drive the economies of this country. If you want to be that person, can I have you stand up on your feet? Amazing. I want you to say after me. Say I. Mention your name. I have decided to be a leader in my generation. Nigeria needs me. So help me God. Thank you very much.